Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Borg?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. And those are approved. The March 23rd minutes, any questions or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular session meeting minutes from March 23rd.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any further questions? Courtney, would you do the roll call, please?
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Conto?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Borg?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. And lastly, we have the minutes of April 6th. Any questions or corrections?
Yeah,
Lisa?
those are the ones.
Okay.
Those are the ones that I wanted to make a comment on.
Okay.
On page 3, on the second paragraph, we just need to add the word "we" after Baker.
Okay. That's great. And you could just send that to Courtney just so
Yep,
she knows
I will.
exactly. Great. Thank you. Any further questions or corrections? Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? Courtney, could you do the roll call, please?
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Conto?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Borg?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. All right, thank you. First item of new business was the update on COVID, but we did actually just receive some information today from Governor Baker where they've suspended the in-person school for the remainder of the year. And we have, that's going to affect a lot of school folks, school children and their parents. And I think Lisa wanted to talk a little bit, especially with regards to our seniors, our Bartlett seniors. So go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you, Chairman Becker. And thanks for allowing me this moment. I just wanted to make a few comments here. Starting with, across the country, high school seniors are adjusting to the reality that their time together is all but over. As you just mentioned, Massachusetts class of 2020 learned today that they're finishing the rest of the semester online. This is a time in their life that they and their families have been anticipating for many years. The actions that have been taken to prevent the spread of COVID-19 have caused a disruption as well as anxiety and concern. I think I speak for many people, as well as the board, when I say we are as heartbroken as you are that your final months as seniors are being impacted by this global crisis. We share in your grief as you mourn the abrupt end of your high school careers. This graduating class is a group of young people who have had a unique perspective. Their lives have been shaped by many national historic events. This is the class of students who were born directly before or after 9/11. They've had to endure mass shootings, many of them at schools across the nation. They grew up with Barack Obama as the first black president and were freshmen in high school when Donald Trump was elected. They have watched it all, and these events have shaped their worldview. And now they're graduating under quarantine. So to the class of 2020, you deserve acknowledgement, and your community honors you. I know many of you will emerge as future leaders. You are different and tough in ways many people in older generations can never know or understand. Please stay strong as you process this disappointing end to your senior year. The coronavirus is yet another significant event that will make you more resilient as you forge ahead to new adventures. Congratulations on your accomplishments. Be proud and strive to rise above the storm, and you'll find sunshine. Thank you.
Lisa, very well said. Thank you very much. And I know the Board of Selectmen as a whole feels the same way, and this is just an incredible way for the seniors to finish out their year. So thanks for those kind words. Anybody else want to add anything to Lisa's comments?
Just echo the same thing.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lisa. We're going to jump to the appointment of Hayden Brown on the Conservation Commission as our first item under new business. And Hayden, I'll turn it over to Doug, and then we'll turn it over to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so Hayden has shown interest for a couple of months, actually, to be on the Conservation Commission and has even attended a few meetings. He's met with the with the conservation agent and is strongly recommended to.
It's hard to hear Doug.
Oh, yeah.
Come on over here.
Sorry, I always forget that you can't hear me. But Hayden has been attending the Conservation Commission meetings for the last couple of months and has met with the conservation agent, and he comes highly recommended to be appointed to the Conservation Commission, and I fully support that recommendation and pass it on to the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Doug. Hayden, anything to say?
I appreciate the time that you guys have granted me, as well as the opportunity to join and to learn more within the town and to work with multiple committees to gain better knowledge and understanding of the way that the town of Webster works. I have a strong background in construction between attending a trade school and working for R.H. White over in Auburn, working within the wastewater industry. I feel that I can offer a very unique perspective, along with a good understanding of construction, as a way to move forward with wise construction practice within, maintaining the water resources within Webster.
Okay, great, Hayden. Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? If not,
Does this complete is the commission whole at this point with this appointment?
so does this opening fill out the commission appointments?
I believe they still would have one space available.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Earl? That Doug believes there's still going to be one space available.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, if there are no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Hayden Brown to the Conservation Commission.
Second?
Second, all right.
Second.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, Courtney, could you call the roll, please?
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Board?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. Well, congratulations, Hayden. I think at the appropriate time, you'll probably need to get sworn in. I'm not quite sure how we'll do this, but Doug will probably reach out to you on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys again.
And thanks for stepping up, Hayden. Have a good night.
You as well.
Thank you. And Doug, you have the floor next for the update on COVID-19.
Thank you. For those attending via the phone call, I sent out an email with the PowerPoint slides that we'll be going over if you want to follow along with us. But first of all, I wanted to recognize all the good that's going on in our community. If you have not been aware, we've had a lot of people make donations. Mott-Free Insurance, for example, has donated $200,000 to the local Harrington Hospital and over $2.3 million to hospitals in general. The local flower garden has been making floral arrangements for donations to people that they consider them heroes here in town. The Webster Manor has this Hometown Heroes project that they're doing in cooperation with the police department. So they are giving out Amazon gift cards to those people that they find are going above and beyond. And we've had other people organize drive-by Easter egg hunts. Our first responders have done parades and things like that. So just all these things that have been going on have been great. And we just want to recognize everyone that's going above and beyond and making a difference in our community. And with that, we need to say thank you to a lot of people. So certainly to the Webster EMS and our police department and fire departments, particularly Webster EMS, as they're the first responders. They're the ones that actually deal with anyone that calls in with symptoms. So we are very grateful for all the hard work they've been doing. But then the list goes on with people working at nursing homes, postal workers, those at grocery stores. We want to give a big thanks to all of them. So one thing that we're doing to say thank you is tomorrow, we're having an emergency vehicle parade. So starting at Harrington Hospital at about 10 o'clock in the morning, we'll have our fire engines, police cars, ambulances will be driving through and showing our appreciation to all the frontline workers in the healthcare system there. Then they'll be going over to Webster Manor, then Lanessa, Golden Heights, and finishing up at Brookside at about 10:45. So that's our way of showing our appreciation for those healthcare workers that are working hard in those facilities. And then we will also be lighting Town Hall in blue as soon as our blue lights come in, just to show our recognition to all the frontline workers, not only here in Webster, but around the country. As we heard already that school has been canceled for the rest of the school year. The schools have been preparing for this, so they'll be implementing their plans going forward. They're also making plans in case things have not improved in the fall, so there will be backup plans there as well. And as Lisa noted, this is a tough time for the graduating seniors, and the schools will be doing something to recognize them, and we'll support them in whatever that comes out to be. Moving on to town operations. So I want to thank our town employees as well. They have been very cooperative under kind of difficult situations and circumstances, and they've gone above and beyond to make sure that town operations have continued. I just want to make sure that everyone knows we do have adequate PPE for all of our first responders. MEMA has been able to get those and distribute them to us. We had just another shipment last week, so for the foreseeable future, we should be all set with that. We're also doing our best to track state and federal money. So of all the $2 trillion, maybe $2.5 trillion now that the federal government has issued, none of that went directly to local governments, but we are doing our best to find the programs that can filter the money to us. So Tim, our town accountant, has been working very hard trying to find every grant opportunity available and working with department heads to make sure that we don't leave any money on the table. I'll talk about the budget a little bit more when we cover our TA report, but also wanted to note that we are canceling all of our events through June. So the Memorial Day Parade, we've asked the veterans to postpone that. I don't think that's something that we need to have happen. Also, the fireworks in July is something that we're considering what we should do with that. So, maybe offline if you have any ideas or how we could pull that off still, feel free to let us know, but we'll be working on that. And just a reminder to everyone who may be watching, we are still open for business via the website or email or telephone. And also our taxes are due May 1st. A lot of people call wondering how to pay that, so that can be paid online or in our Dropbox or by mail. For those that need to coordinate a payment plan, we recommend that they email our treasurer collector, Tina Landry, and she'll be able to work that out with everybody. So the Memorial Beach and Parks, we have followed the guidelines of the state, which allows passive recreational activities that are transitory, no solitary. So that means you have to be moving, walking, jogging, etc. We have been monitoring the beach and our playgrounds, and we do find that the vast majority of people are obeying that, but there are some that are not. So this past weekend, we had a beach employee start working, and they are going around monitoring this and helping remind people about the social distancing requirements. If it continues to be a problem, we will lock the gate and just no one will be allowed in. That's not something we want to do, particularly with the nice weather. If people can continue to walk and get some exercise, that's ideal for everyone. But if we can't obey that, then we will lock it, and that will eliminate any boats being launched, as well as the walking track as well. So we want to make that a last resort. The health department has been doing a good job with enforcing the state and federal regulations. A couple of areas that have been of note. The grocery store, particularly Price Chopper, has been cooperative in enforcing the social distancing restrictions in the store. We've had lots of conversations with them, and it was very helpful because the state came out with specified guidelines, so every store across the state is the same, when before there were some contentious issues with that, but those have all been cleared up. We have had some other retail facilities that have tried to open, but the health department's been able to close them down, and for the most part, they've been cooperative once we've asked them to close their retail establishment. With that, our senior care facilities in town have been doing an exceptional job, considering all the risk involved in caring for that age population. They have also received a significant supply of PPE, so their workers will be protected as well. Just a reminder, as we discussed last meeting, we have moved the town election to June 15th and town meeting to June 22nd. We've also been doing our best to help the small businesses here in town. This past week, we coordinated a phone survey, so we are having employees of the library call all our businesses to see how things are going. We are anxiously awaiting some community development block grant funds, which we will be able to distribute to local businesses. In the meantime, we applied for an Attorney General Office business assistance funding of $50,000. We hope to be able to get that money, distribute it to local businesses to tide them over until we receive the CDBG funding to help the small businesses on a bigger scale. One thing that we've been asking is if we can use local funds to help businesses. We do have some economic development funds that I could reuse for that purpose, but we've been told several times by the Department of Revenue and the Attorney General's office that that is not an appropriate use of local funds, so we cannot do that. And going on to some things that are available for individuals and families, just a reminder that school lunches are available every school day from 11 to 1 p.m. at the high school, middle school, and Park Ave Elementary. Unemployment benefits have been a big topic, but they have been streamlined and actually increased as well. So people who are have been unemployed or lost hours due to the coronavirus have the ability to apply for unemployment. The next few slides are some statistics that the state has put out, and these are on our website right now, and they'll be updated daily. But if you can see this chart for those in the room and those who may be following along, the last few days we've actually had fewer cumulative cases added on, so we're now at approximately 40,000 across the state, but the last 4 or 5 days, the number of increases each day has gone down slightly. So that's definitely a good sign. Hopefully that trend continues and we hit a plateau and can start going down from there. The next slide is testing. So this continues to increase every single day. And one of the positive signs is that the last 4 or 5 days have seen the most testing per day, but yet the number of cases confirmed has gone down slightly. So that's even more reason to believe that those are good numbers and that we may be hitting the plateau. This next slide is the daily and cumulative deaths. Fortunately, this continues to increase. The last 2 days have been less, but anytime someone passes away, that's obviously a very sad situation. We have had one local death here in town, and our thoughts are with their family and friends of the deceased. This next one is cases and rate by age group. So the confirmed cases on the chart on the left shows a pretty evenly distributed caseload, but if you take it per 1,000 population, it's obviously affecting the older population, and definitely those over 80 years old are much more affected by this. Which goes along with what we've been hearing, that it's definitely affects those older in age the most. Again, hospitalizations follows the same curve. As you get older, the more people are hospitalized due to the coronavirus. And the next slide is hospital capacity by region. This is what we're trying to accomplish with all of the flattening of the curve, is to make sure that we have enough capacity in our hospital and healthcare system. These slides change every day, but right now we have good capacity here in central Massachusetts. We have about over half of our hospital beds are available to deal with the coronavirus. So last of all, just a reminder to everyone who may be watching on YouTube, it's that to be a part of the situation, part of the solution, we need you to take protective measures and stay home. Make sure you're using good personal hygiene, washing your hands, sneezing in your elbow, not touching your face, etc. Using a face mask whenever possible when going outside. And we will continue to do our best to provide updates for everyone. Every day our website's updated. We also do situational updates about one a week. We'll probably do another one Thursday or Friday this week. But everyone should feel free to either contact me at the town administrator's office or Jen Sullivan, our health director, and her extension is the same town phone number, but extension 4002. Are there any questions from the board?
No.
Okay.
Not a question, Doug, but a comment. You had a slide in the beginning of this that showed heroes, but I do want to, be able to put your name. I know it's not written up there, your name and Jen's name especially. I think doing some of those public service announcements they're doing a great job of getting the word out. So that's really helpful. So you both have shined in this kind of dark hour. So I would personally add your names to the heroes list. So thank you.
Yeah, certainly Jen has gone above and beyond. She's working weekends and nights and everything, trying to keep on top of this. Certainly I'm not so much of a hero when it comes to this, but Jen has been doing an excellent job and appreciate her efforts.
Doug, I'd just like to ask, for those that are going to need to contact the treasurer's office and speak with Tina, what is the appropriate way for them to just call the office number of the treasurer collector or online?
So the treasurer collector's office, you can leave a message there and they check them every day, every other day, and they will return phone calls. But probably the best option is for people to email Tina directly. She can respond immediately if it's by an email. So I'll just repeat her email. Her name's Tina Landry, so it's T Landry, Landry at webster-ma.gov.
Thank you.
Thanks, Earl. Any other questions for Doug on COVID?
Just one question, if I may. Doug, thank you for all those statistics. You and I had briefly talked about this, but I did want you to mention this. In terms of the town's capability of reporting at a granular level based on Webster residents who have been tested, would you mind just, providing an update to the community on our capabilities to do that?
Yes, so we have the ability locally to report numbers by the number of cases, positive cases, the number of those recovered, but we cannot track down how many Webster residents have been hospitalized nor how many have been tested. Because a Webster resident could be tested in any of the 5 testing locations that are throughout the state. So we do not have those numbers to share. But if I recall correctly, we have 51 confirmed cases in town, but 24 have fully recovered.
Thank you, Doug.
Yep.
Doug, just one more question regarding, I know there's some talk whenever that's going to happen about recovery and steps to recovery. Is that being folded into the plan for Webster? And are they in touch with the state on formulating specifics yet, or is it too soon?
So we are involved in a lot of phone calls. The governor's office has a weekly phone call with all the town managers, and that is obviously one of the big things that we talk about is when is the governor going to lift the stay-at-home order and allow a progressively more and more open business economic efforts to move forward. So they have not released any hard details. I know that they have been looking at what the federal government has released, and that they will follow something similar to that when they feel like it is safe to start reopening some of the non-essential businesses. As far as town operations are involved, we are in discussions with department heads on when we're going to have employees back in the office. We'll likely start having employees back in the office full-time and still not be open to public walk-in for a little bit of time until the caseload has dropped some. But we don't have anything firm, but we are definitely looking at all those options.
And you feel that you have the ability and the staff to monitor the town when that step occurs? I mean, with the health department and so on and so forth?
Yeah, so, yeah, that's a good point. So the health department, well, right now is only 2 employees, but we have received assistance from the state in tracing positive cases, which takes up a lot of time. So that frees up the Board of Health to do more proactive monitoring and enforcement of non-essential businesses. But also the police department has been very helpful and more than willing to assist her in enforcing those orders. So we will be okay. Between the police department and the Board of Health, we'll be able to monitor that effectively.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you, Doug, again, for everything you're doing and for that report. We're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is response to Patrick Higgins' open meeting law complaint. This is on page 13 of your packages that were sent out. This particular issue is on me as chairman. There is a requirement not to have any more than 3 sets of minutes that are to be approved at any time, and when we met for our last executive session, we actually had 4, so we received a complaint on that. I think we've come a long way to making sure that we get minutes out and are transparent with them, and these are executive session minutes. They were sent out within a week of each meeting to the selectmen, but that's not an excuse, so this is on me. We've responded. Doug had spoken with our attorney and drafted a letter. The letter is in the package. I just want to make sure people are comfortable with that. I've added in there that we've come a long way with our minutes, and we have a policy. And the fact of the matter is, we had a couple of executive sessions in, I'd say, rapid order to deal with a particular case, and that caused this issue. So we will not let it happen again.
Yeah, that's nice of you to say it's your fault, but really it wasn't. It was more mine. But like you said, these minutes still cannot be released to the public, so there was no loss to the public, no lack of transparency.
All right, well, thank you, Doug. So any questions on that? If there aren't any, we will just be sending that letter out tomorrow to the AG. Okay, if there are none, we're going to move on to the highlight of our meeting, which is Doug's performance review 2019 to 2020. We've got all the information that was very kindly compiled by Courtney, and what I thought I'd do is just open it up to comments, questions, and I would just say that it's probably one of the best reviews I've ever seen. So I think Doug's done an absolutely excellent job. He's really risen to the occasion. He's grown with this town very well since November, December of 2016. It's hard to believe, but doesn't seem like 3.5 years. It's probably more like 7 years.
It has gone by very fast.
Sure. Got very good ratings, but why don't I open it up to comments, if I could, please, from the board? You don't all have to jump in at once. So,
I was just wondering, how did this compare to the previous 2-year reviews?
the most recent one, I think the scores have never been higher. Maybe the very
Okay.
first review, it was probably around the same
Yeah.
level, always above 4.
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I think last year it was like a 4.1, and this
Almost a
averages out to
4.4.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'd just like to point out that this is a different format as well than what we've ever used before. It's a lot more broader approach to get them, almost a 360-degree view.
Right, and it included, comments and ratings from not only the department heads to get that 360, but also from our community. So I think there were quite a few people that had commented, and you can't please everybody, but I would say, at least 5 out of 6 or 7 out of 8
Yeah.
were very, very happy, and very good comments coming in, that you represent the town extremely well and are just doing a great job.
Yeah, specifically the residential survey, every time I saw the numbers, my heart got a little flittery. It was like, oh no, what's it gonna say now?
But yeah, I mean, I certainly thank Lisa. I think this is a much better format, and also having input from department heads and from the community is really great. There were some goals that we had in the previous year review. Doug, you want to just talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, so this is also in the packet as well. So we had, in the several different main areas, we had set goals. So under public safety, the main goal is to make Webster a safer place, and the measure that we were going to do that was by our survey, which asks, do you feel safe in town?
And Doug, this is on page 23 and 24 of the packet for the
Yeah.
selectmen, sorry.
So, yeah, to raise that survey question by 0.5, I think was a little overambitious, and maybe I didn't quite understand how much it would take
hard
for
to
a
hear
survey
Doug
to raise.
again.
Oh, sorry, we're going to move Doug over to a different microphone.
I'm going to be really excited for when we can meet in person again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the proposed goals from last year, a report on those. So the first one was to make Webster a safer place, and the measure was our survey question, which is do you feel safe in town? And I had hoped to increase that by 0.5. It actually only went up 0.2. I underestimated how much just the data would need to change for that to increase by 0.5. I do think that we are in a good place with our police department. I think Chief Shaw is an excellent leader and has now a very energetic and capable staff. And not that they weren't capable before, but we have hired a lot of new people, and they're anxious to do a good job and make Webster the best place it can be. And so we are continuing to try to staff the police department fully. It's kind of an ongoing effort, but with the change of being the non-civil service department, that will make that a little smoother and easier for us. We've also, I'm not sure when we actually implemented the mobile camera, but that's been effective. And we've been able to put that out in kind of some of the hotspot areas as a deterrent as well. So overall, I think we're making great progress in that area. Perhaps we need to find a more appropriate measure to measure that, but it's something we'll continue to work on. Under economic development, our goal was to reinvigorate downtown, and our goal was to bring in 3 new businesses. We brought in actually quite a few more in the past 12 months to 18 months. I think if I counted, it was maybe 11. And actually right before the COVID epidemic, we were having lots and lots of interest on pretty much every place that was vacant. We had someone lined up or was actively asking questions about it, which was unheard of. Carol Sear, who's been here for 30 years, said it's the most interest she's ever seen in downtown. So that's great. We also have a lot of more beautification efforts that will happen as soon as we get our highway staff working fully again. We'll be able to start implementing some of that. And also Carol and the Recreation Department have been doing an excellent job beautifying downtown, but also bringing people downtown with all the events. So we hope to be able to add actually 2 new park areas to downtown in the next year over the summer. So where the tornado went through, I'll talk about this more in our TA report, but right now we're using it as an interim park, and hopefully we'll get grass and flowers there this summer. Then also on High Street, there's some vacant lots that we have talked to the owner. She's willing to let the town use it as a park, or to actually donate it to the town to be used as a park. That's definitely an area that has had issues in the past with homelessness, and we hope to be able to clear it up and provide a nice area for the community to have a dog park and some other amenities. Quality of neighborhoods. Obviously, one of our goals is to improve the neighborhoods, and our measure was to close out 30 nuisance properties. We had closed out 36 properties in the past year. About 2 years ago, approved the nuisance property bylaw and the vacant property bylaw, which are great tools for us to be able to use and be more effective. Also, as part of our spring cleanup that we were aggressively approaching before the COVID pandemic, we had identified another 46 nuisance properties that we are going to close out as soon as the pandemic is lifted. So that will certainly improve the quality of not only our neighborhoods, but our business areas as well.
Doug, if I could, I would actually want to give credit to where credit's due. Former Selectman Mark Degevich, this is a high priority item for him, so I think continuing on in the efforts that he was spearheading several years ago, we've made great strides in here, so
Yeah.
good to continue on.
And one of the things that we've been very effective at is foreclosing on properties that have not been paying their taxes, but they're also happen to be the worst offenders of our nuisance property bylaws. So former treasurer Jim Chauvin did an excellent job getting those wills started, because it takes a long time for those to come through. So in the past year, we've had maybe 12 properties be foreclosed on that are all nuisance properties that will be able to be cleaned up and sold hopefully in June at an upcoming auction. All right, let's move on to finances. So we want to be financially stable, and our measure was to increase the stabilization fund by $500,000. Over the past year, we put in $350,000 from free cash, and we had another $24,000 of interest that accumulated in that fund. So we are currently at 1.8 million, which is the most that we've had in town since we've had the current financial software. The previous high was 1.1 million. And on top of that, I think this is going to grow rapidly over the next year. So we are recommending that any marijuana revenues, specifically the tax revenues that come in, will be placed directly into the stabilization fund. That requires a town meeting vote, but that's what we plan on proposing for the June town meeting. Also, we had a large certification of free cash this past year, 1.4 million. It's like 10 times the average of the last 10 years. So we'll be putting a sizable portion of that into our stabilization fund. And then we have our OPEB stabilization fund, which previously was only like $20,000. It's now at $144,000, and within the next 6 months, we'll be able to add at least another $600,000 when we close out our final run out claims from our switch from our previous health insurance plan to our full premium based insurance plans. Under infrastructure, our goal was to improve water quality with a measure of the water quality survey going up 0.5%. Again, I underestimated how little the data would move, but also that survey was completed in July and August, well before the filtration plant was put online. I talked to Greg and got some updated statistics on the dirty water calls, and over the past couple months, we've had 2, maybe 3 a month. Which is very good. I mean, it's always a concern, are people just tired of calling and that's why we're not getting as many calls, but certainly the calls are on a downward trajectory. And I think once we do our spring flushing system, we should have clean water through the whole system, and our dirty water calls should be next to nothing unless we have a significant event which stirs up the turbidity in the water. Last of all, operations. One of my personal goals is to delegate to department heads more and to create department goals. So we created department goals, and then one of the things that we were doing was quarterly updates to the selectmen. Kind of fell off the the wagon last couple of months, but we'll get back on that, and we can start doing that again for the next quarter. Any questions on the goals that we had done last year? And then if not, I'll turn it over to Randy to discuss goals for this next year.
Doug, I just thought maybe it might be good to mention what you feel a good, safe level for the town is for the stabilization fund. I know you mentioned how we've grown and that currently we're at 1.8 million, but what do you feel is a good target for the town to feel comfortable with the stabilization amounts?
Yeah, so our financial policy says it should be 5% of the general fund, which is like 2.5 million. So,
Okay.
we still have some more area to go, but honestly, we could do that in probably a year or two. And I don't think our goal should be to, definitely we need to get to that level quickly, but it's not something we need to do all in 1 year. So I think if we have a plan to get over a year or two, we will be in very good shape.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you all, and Doug, thank you. I think there's a lot of glowing comments and ratings in here, and they're very well deserved, so thank you very much.
Well, and I should, maybe I should step over to the phone again, but I will quickly say it's in a large part due to the Board of Selectmen. You guys have been very cooperative and have shown a lot of leadership, so I'm excited to be a part of this community. I think it's a great place to be, and we should all be happy that we can work together and we're making progress together.
That's great. That's how it should be, so appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Next item on the agenda was the development of 2020 and 2021 goals. We did have several of them listed in our report, and if our selectman on the phone went to page 21 of our report, some of the priorities that were mentioned there would be reviewing the Memorial Beach plan at a public hearing to gather input from the town, in conjunction with the vacant storefront initiative, consider engaging college to develop ideas for revitalizing Main Street. You may have already done some of that, but that's just another thought.
Yep.
Consider holding a festival on Main Street once a year, work with the landlords of the Shaw Kmart Plaza to attract a well-known large retailer, increase in online services for citizens, concentration on Main Street, South Main, East Main for beautification and uplifting the area. So what I might suggest is if maybe we can have a roundtable if there's any other suggestions, and then we can have a more in-depth discussion on goals at our next meeting. But why don't I open it up to the board first and then to Doug? Do we have any other thoughts with regards to goals that we'd like to have Doug look into?
Chairman Becker,
Doug.
the only other thing I
go ahead.
had in mind, although I think with the climate in terms of what's going on with the coronavirus, I'm not sure how realistic, but Doug was already starting down the path of looking at promoting and encouraging a bid. The Business Improvement District. I think that's something that's extremely valuable for our downtown area. However, having said that, I also recognize that coming out of this situation is going to put a lot of hardship on a lot of small businesses. So it's something that if we were to pursue, we would need to pursue that, and being mindful that it may not be realistic in this next review period.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, and Lisa and I have talked about that a little bit, but yeah, that's something I wouldn't feel comfortable doing for at least 6 months, maybe even a year.
Sure. Any further comments on this from the board?
I just like to suggest that, and again, as Lisa said, we're in the middle of a crisis right now, so it's hard to plan. But I think as we look to fill Main Street and revive and vitalize it, I think we got to look at what Webster needs in a twofold. Why would people choose Webster? Both the residents, providing them what they need. I know, restaurants are one thing, but what other services, as we look to fill the Main Street, would residents choose to shop here or be here? And the same goes for the outside residents. As we plan things not only on Main Street, but throughout the town, because we're competing with other towns. So why would people choose Webster? And I think we need to invoke that in the planning that we do, in the years ahead. And I think it would be helpful if we start, not just filling it, but filling it and saying, what are we doing to make people choose Webster? I think would help.
Thank you, Earl. Yeah. Any other selectmen comments? If not, I'll see if Doug has any comments.
If no one else does, I think many of the goals that we had last year are goals that we should continue to work on as well. I can adjust those to have different measures, maybe update them or make more appropriate ones, but I think the goals that have already been mentioned, plus these, would be a very broad and comprehensive set of goals.
And, I would... Yep, go ahead, Lisa.
I was going to say Doug's breaking up again because he's far away.
Okay.
Just repeat it.
Yeah, so I think he was adding that we should take a look at the goals that we also had for 2019, 2020, some of which also pertain to 2020 and 2021 goals, and he'll, kind of remassage those and make them more appropriate for 2020/2021. There's probably one thing maybe at our next meeting, we can keep this on the agenda, that we need to, I think as a board, look 5 to 10 years out. It's one thing that we really haven't, I think, placed the time necessary to do it. Where do we see this town in 5 or 10 years, not just next year or the next 2 years? So just some food for thought, if we could, for our next meeting.
And I'd just like to add one thing in regard to infrastructure. I know that for 19 and 20 we had, improved water quality. But I think infrastructure is still out there as far as the distribution system for water, and also the sewer system is going to impact the town. So I think that needs to remain in focus as far as infrastructure. Although, we've improved the water, we still got work to do on infrastructure.
Yeah, I think everyone would agree, Earl. And part of it, too, working with you as chairman of the Water Sewer Commission has been very helpful. But looking at some of the, 3 and 5 year plans, we do at least have some projects in the works, with whether it be relining of pipes for certain roads. So we've anticipated, I think, building some money into the budgets 2, 3, and 4 years out which will be helpful, and we may need to look more at on the sewer side, because we have focused a lot, rightfully so, on the water side. But I've written it down as well, so,
Okay.
very good. Okay, with that said, I did want to at least mention one of the things on the COVID and what heroes are going on. We forgot to mention specifically the Webster Dudley Food Share. They're helping hundreds of people, who are struggling with food and with even, having Purell, any kind of hand wash. So a shout out to them, and, if people are in need, that's another resource that I think they can go to. They're online on Facebook, so the Webster Dudley Food Share.
While we're remembering things we forgot previously, there is a large need for people to donate blood. Specifically, if you have AB, there's a large need for that. So I don't have AB, so they didn't want me, but
So let's not forget the Red Cross. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
No.
All right, I'm going to actually move so that Doug can slide over here where the microphone's better for his report.
okay, for the town administrator report, I'm going to skip over the public health and safety. I think we covered pretty much all of that within the coronavirus update. Under finances, we had the foreclosure auction scheduled for last week that has been postponed indefinitely. We hope to do that in June. Moving on to the 2020 budget. So our coronavirus expenditures have been relatively minimal, all things considered. So we have received some direct payment from the state to pay for PPE and some staffing. But overall, it hasn't been a large concern for us. We'll be able to maintain our current operations within the current budget. However, unemployment is one of my bigger concerns. It was already running a little bit high for this year, and then a lot of the substitute school teachers will be able to file for unemployment, so I think that is going to be an issue that we'll have to address at town meeting with additional funding. And I mentioned before that the town accountant's doing an excellent job tracking and researching options for receiving state and federal funds. But as we look at the FY21 budget process, things get a little more bleak. So state aid is more than a quarter of our revenue. And right now, the state has said that they're pulling back the numbers that they provided in January, and they haven't given us any updated state aid numbers. So these are going to go down quite a bit. Some people are saying the effect to Webster could be well over $1 million. So we have prioritized a list of things that we would eliminate from the FY21 budget if that came down to it. So when we do get the number, we'll just be able to go down the list and make sure and see where that line falls. Hopefully it's not to the point where we need to discuss changes in staffing, but actually I feel pretty confident that we won't get to that point as of right now. Let's see. One of the things we had, the financial audit was completed a couple months ago. We were going to invite them in. Do we want them to just join in via conference call at our next meeting, or do you want them to be in person because you're more easily able to ask questions? Is there a preference by the board?
I don't have a preference.
Oh, yeah.
We can certainly do it. We can certainly do it on the phone if necessary. It's better to do it more timely.
Yeah,
than force
then
it
4
to be
months
in
later.
person.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to schedule that for the next meeting. We're working on our green communities. We have an annual report that's due this week, but also, if you recall, green communities are going to pay for a boiler at the high school. Now that the school is going to be closed, we'll be able to move on that project sooner rather than waiting a couple more months when the summer break would have happened. Under economic development, I covered some of this as well, that we are reaching out to all of our businesses in town. But specifically, we're working with a consultant to revitalize 4 specific areas in town. The one that we've been focusing on right now is where the tornado came through. Actually had some slides, but we'll skip those for now. But I've reached out to all the property owners down there, and we're trying to get together a meeting where we can discuss options. The consultants have gone through, and they've, based on their pro rata, retail on the first floor with 2 to 3 floors of residential housing on top is a very viable option for that area. And our hope is that we can get all the owners together. Maybe they can create an LLC and go out and attract a developer to build something like that. But that's something we're working on, trying to get interest from all the property owners. Some of those properties are in the midst of changing hands, so it may be a little more difficult to do that immediately. Let's see. And I mentioned we're trying to do a lot with the spring cleanup. As soon as some of these restrictions are lifted and we have more staff working, we'll be able to hit that a little bit harder as well. And I sent out an email that 41 Main Street, the other building that was hit by the tornado, we received the order from the judge that that needs to be torn down by May 20th, and the contractor has already pulled the demolition permit. So I expect that to happen perhaps even in advance of the 20th. Going through under infrastructure, we were supposed to have a ribbon cutting ceremony for the filtration plant next month, but we'll postpone that. The Lake Parkway, Claybert Ave projects out to bid. Those are due at the end of the month. Memorial Beach. So we, as you know, we have hired the landscape architect to design that. So we have a little bit of an issue in that we have to go out to bid in June for that. So in order to get public comments on that, we may have to, Carol and I can explain it on TV or something, and then put that out on our social media sites and ask people for comments, or we may have to do something like that because the project has to start in July. Carol's looking really excited about doing that. Let's see, where was I? So Eddy Street, we had, those bids came back, and that work will start this summer. Actually, with a lot of these road projects, we're trying to balance. Some road projects in other areas of the state aren't able to go forward, so we need to coordinate the construction crews to be able to do our work as well as the other work that they're going to have a backlog on. So this summer is going to be a little bit of a juggling and kind of fighting to stay on top of the contractors' list so we make sure our projects get done. So that includes Eddy Street, and the next one, the municipal lot behind Mopfrey, that's going out for bid this week. And then our East Main Sidewalk project, that is out to bid. Those are due, I think, on May 15th. Town Hall renovation, we applied for a $100,000 grant to do the, fix the roof and the water that's getting in through our ceilings. That overall total project's going to be more like $600,000, so we'll have to come up with the other $500,000, but we have options for that. And then I mentioned that the highway department's working with the engineer to determine the 2020 paving plan, but we're going to have to fight to be able to get contractors to actually be able to do that. And then just everyone knows that we have postponed the election and town meeting, and we'll continue to provide the coronavirus updates. Are there any specific questions on the TA report or anything you'd like covered?
I have one question. I know that for the East Main Street project, that there was some work going on with those businesses. I just never heard the outcome of that. I'm assuming because we're moving forward with that all those discussions went favorable.
Yeah, so I spoke with all the property owners. We made a few accommodations. We addressed some of it with landscaping. But yeah, overall, we got to a plan that everyone is favorable to. Also, I should mention, this past weekend, we were going to have our Earth Day cleanup, because Earth Day is April 22nd. We didn't do that, obviously, for social distancing reasons, but we encourage everyone in the public to go out and pick up litter on the sides of the roads. Our highway department will go out and pick that up. There is a very active senior citizen on Sutton Road that has always been doing a great job cleaning up, and I want to give her a special shout out because she's out there all the time when I am driving to work. But the highway department will go out and clean those up. So if you do want to get some exercise, do your community some good, feel free to pick up garbage, and if you leave it on the side of the road, we will clean it up over the next few days.
Doug, do citizens need to call anywhere to notify them where they left the bags? How will you manage that?
Yeah, so Lisa asked, do they need to call in to notify us where the bags are? You certainly can call in the main number at the town hall, but we are pretty diligent about finding where the garbage bags are. The crews are out constantly, so they'll be able to pick them up. But if there's one there for a few days, feel free to call town hall and we'll definitely make sure it gets picked up.
Thank you, Doug. So on Earth Day, actually, and tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So I guess you can go out tomorrow in front of your own houses and celebrate that way. Any further questions or topics that we'd like to talk about for this evening? I know we don't have a date listed on our agenda for our next meeting. Did we have one in mind, Doug?
So it's typically the second Monday of the month, which would have been town meeting, but we can do it, is that the 15th of May?
May
Oh, the 11th, sorry.
Is that May 11th? Is that acceptable for everybody?
Yes.
Those,
Yes.
everyone on the phone? Okay. So let's plan our next meeting then for May 11th. Great. All right, we do need an approval for Doug's
I'll
report.
Make a motion to accept
Motion
the
to
town
approve.
administrator's report.
Okay. And a second? I'll second that.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Courtney, would you do the roll call, please?
Selectman DeBoer?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Borg?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Courtney, if you would, please?
Selectman DeBoer?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Borg?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. And Courtney, thank you very much. And everybody be safe.